In this video, I'm going to go over examples 1 and 2 from the lesson. And essentially, with 1 and 2, you're shown basically a lot of the same symbols in the same order. And the only difference being that the second example, there's a set of parentheses. But that set of parentheses does make a big difference as far as the final truth table goes. So, this particular statement involves two original statements P and Q. So I start off the truth table by assigning every possible combination of P and Q together. So both true, P being true, Q being false, P being false, Q being true, P being false, and Q being false. And as you go through these, you start getting shortcuts for how to used to providing that first part of the table when there's two variables or even three. In rare instances, you might see four, but usually most of the problems that you're given are capped at three altogether. Now, for me to come up with a truth table for this, I'm going to have to probably take some intermediate steps, and that's perfectly allowable in this. And your textbook goes through a method where they would put like an and sign, like it put a not sign here, and then do not P over here, and then put an and sign here, and then this would be my final column here. In my experience, when students have used that method, they often confuse themselves, and then when they'll do the work correctly, but then they'll report the final answers, or they'll look at another part of the table as they're doing other parts, and it just seems to get them jumbled a bit. So I do kind of follow the alternate method where you kind of map each thing out individually, and even if you have to recopy a column to kind of put things next to each other, that's no big deal. So when I do this, I'm going to make a column for not P, which means I'm just going to focus on column P here. And not P means that anything that's true for P is going to be false for not P, and vice versa. So these would be the truth values for not P, given the original values for P. And now I want to see not P and Q. So now I'm looking at these two columns. Now, if I had this as Q and not P, it wouldn't matter. I mean, the and symbol is, there's some commutativity around that. You can reverse the two sides. There are some logical connectives that you can't do that with. An and statement, or this intersection symbol, you can. So basically, for this and statement to be true, which is going to be my final answer, both of these columns have to have a truth value at the same time. If it doesn't have true for both of them, it's a false statement. So this being true and this being false makes this false. Both of them being false makes it false. Both of them being true makes them true. And this being false and this being true makes this final statement false. Now let's look at the truth table for what looks very similar, this here, which is the exact same statement basically, now with parentheses around this. But that parentheses kind of dictates what you have to evaluate first, because I'm still starting with the same truth values, P and Q. But the first thing I have to do, because it's in parentheses, I have to do the intersection of P and Q next. So P and Q comes next, and again, it's the same procedure. I look at these two columns here. Whenever they're both true, this is true. If one of them or both of them are false, it's false. So this is true, this is false, and this is false. Now that I've done this, I now employ the not symbol, which basically just means I look at this column right here, and anything that's true on this column is going to be false on this one. Anything's false on this column is going to be true on this one. So false, true, true, true are the truth values for this. And as you can see, these truth values are very different from each other. So putting a parenthesis in, changing order in some cases, when we get to some of the other conditional connectives in the next section, it does matter. So you have to be very careful not to assume things to be the same statement when they're not. But that is the end of this first video. If you have any additional questions, please make sure to reach out to me. Until next time, have a good day.